We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Army chief says Congress must boost aid to Israel as the US death toll rises to 9 in Hamas attacks. US demands condemnation of Hamas at UN meeting, but Security Council takes no immediate action. US Senate Majority Leader Schumer meets Xi and welcomes a stronger Chinese statement on Hamas attack. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will run for president as an independent and drop his Democratic primary bid. One killed and 8 wounded in shooting at Pennsylvania Community Center party. U.S. economist wins Nobel for work on gender gap. Israel lays total siege to Gaza. Dozens killed and wounded in Israel air raids on Gaza refugee camps. Thousands of Gaza residents take refuge in UN schools from Israel air raids. Afghanistan quakes, rescuers search for survivors. Traffic resumes at Germany's Hamburg airport after Iran plane threat. New Zealand beat Netherlands by 99 runs in ICC Cricket World Cup 2023. And Saudi Arabia formally informs FIFA of its wish to host the 2034 World Cup as the favorite to win. You are listening to Headlines Now News in detail. The State Department said Monday that at least 9 American citizens have been killed in the weekend Hamas attacks on Israel, raising the toll from 4. It said an undetermined number of American citizens remain missing and unaccounted for. On Sunday, an official said that number was fluid and had ranged from 6 to 12. It was not clear whether the missing had been taken hostage, were killed, or were in hiding. The State Department is in touch with families and providing all appropriate consular assistance, said spokesman Matthew Miller. The attack by Hamas and Israel's response have left more than 1,100 dead and thousands wounded on both sides. In the aftermath of the Hamas attack, the White House has asked Senate leaders to fast-track confirmation of President Joe Biden's nominee to be the next ambassador to Israel. Former Obama-era Treasury Secretary and White House Chief of Staff Jack Lew, according to a U.S. official who was not authorized to comment publicly and requested anonymity. The White House has received assurances that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee will push forward hearings for Lew. The official added, The US is currently without an ambassador after the departure of Ambassador Tom Knights in July. Biden nominated Liu in September. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Sunday he has ordered the Ford Carrier Strike Group to sail to the eastern Mediterranean to be ready to assist Israel. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the Navy's newest and most advanced aircraft carrier, and its approximately 5,000 sailors and take-off warplanes will be accompanied by cruisers and destroyers in a show of force that is meant to be ready to respond to anything, from possibly interdicting additional weapons from reaching Hamas and conducting surveillance. The large deployment reflects a U.S. desire to deter any regional expansion of the conflict. But the Israeli government formally declared war Sunday and gave the green light for significant military steps to retaliate against Hamas. Biden has met with top officials in his cabinet, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken, to discuss the situation in the Middle East and ordered them to coordinate with Israel on all aspects of the crisis. The White House said Biden will speak with close allies to discuss the latest developments. He directed his team to follow up on coordination with Israel on all aspects of the crisis and to continue their work with regional partners to warn anyone who might seek to take advantage in this situation, the White House said in a statement. On the other hand, the UN Security Council held an emergency meeting behind closed doors Sunday, with the United States demanding all 15 members strongly condemn these heinous terrorist attacks committed by Hamas, but they took no immediate action. U.S. Deputy Ambassador Robert Wood said afterward that a good number of countries did condemn the Hamas attack, but not all council members. He told reporters they could probably figure out one of them. Wood made clear the U.S. is focused on condemning Hamas for this unprovoked invasion and the terrorist attacks, and said Hamas must end its violent terrorist activity against the Israeli people. Asked if it wasn't important to restart talks on a two-state solution and end the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict, he replied, "There will be time for that. The time right now is we have got to deal with the hostage-taking, the violence that is going on, that's being perpetrated by Hamas, and we have got to deal with first things first." U.S. Senate Majority Leader Schumer said Monday he was grateful for a strengthened statement from China condemning the killing and kidnapping of Israeli and foreign civilians by Hamas, issued during a bipartisan congressional visit to Beijing that included a lengthy meeting with President Xi Jinping. Schumer led a delegation of 6 senators to China for talks aimed at stabilizing ties following a sharp deterioration in recent years over trade, U.S. support for self-governing Taiwan, human rights, and other issues. The delegation, which included 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, was the first visit by U.S. lawmakers since 2019 and came at a time of growing attacks on China in Congress, as America contends with Beijing's rise as a global power. Schumer told Foreign Minister Wang Yi earlier in the day that he had been very disappointed by China's failure to strongly condemn the attack on Israel and show sympathy for the country and its people. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said later Monday that China is deeply saddened by the civilian casualties caused by the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Longtime environmental lawyer and anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said Monday he will run for president as an independent and drop his Democratic primary bid, adding a wrinkle to a 2024 race heading toward a likely rematch between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Speaking Monday from Philadelphia's Independence Mall, where America's founding documents were adopted, Kennedy said there is a rising tide of discontent in the country and said he wants to make a new declaration of independence from corporations, the media, and the two major political parties. I have come here today to declare our independence from the tyranny of corruption which robs us of affordable lives, our belief in the future, and our respect for each other, Kennedy said. But to do that, I must first declare my own independence from the Democratic Party and from all other political parties. Kennedy, a member of one of the most famous Democratic families in politics, was running a long-shot primary bid and has better favorability ratings among Republicans than Democrats. It's unclear whether GOP support would translate to a general election when Kennedy would also be running against Trump. Allies of both Biden and Trump have at times questioned whether Kennedy would be a spoiler against their candidate. One person was killed and 8 were wounded in a shooting during a private party at a Pennsylvania community center early Sunday, authorities said. The state police in Indiana County said troopers, local officers, and emergency services responded at 12:35 a.m. Sunday to the shooting at the Chevy Chase Community Center in White Township, about 50 miles northeast of Pittsburgh. 9 people between the ages of 18 and 23 were shot, including a 22-year-old Pittsburgh man who died at the scene, police said. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens said investigators believe more than one shooter was involved but declined to say how many there were. Dozens of gunshots were fired within the confines of the building, said Bivens, acknowledging later that it may well be that we had a gunfight inside this building. Many fired shell casings and multiple firearms had been recovered, along with other evidence such as clothing and cell phones, he said. Bivens said, however, that officials believe events were isolated to the attendees at that party and did not believe the threat was directed at the community at large. The Nobel Prize in Economics was awarded to American economist Claudia Goldin on Monday for research that has helped bring understanding to the role of women in the labor market. The 77-year-old Harvard professor, who is the third woman to be awarded the prestigious economics prize, was given the nod for having advanced our understanding of women's labor market outcomes, the jury said. The Nobel is a very important prize, not just for me, but for the many people who work in this field and who are trying to understand why there is so much change, but there are still large differences in pay, Goldin told AFP in a telephone interview after the announcement. By studying the history of women in the United States workforce, Goldin demonstrated factors that have historically influenced and in some cases still influence the supply and demand for women in the labor force, the jury explained. Now it's time for a short break. Stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your fist. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. Let's have today's global updates. Israel imposed a total siege on the Gaza Strip on Monday and cut off utility supplies as it kept bombing targets in the crowded Palestinian enclave in response to the Hamas surprise assault it has likened to the 9/11 attacks. Reeling from the Islamist group's unprecedented ground, air and sea attacks, Israel has counted over 800 dead and launched a withering barrage of strikes on Gaza that have killed 560 people there. The skies over Gaza were blackened by plumes of smoke from deafening explosions as Hamas kept launching rockets as far as Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, where missile defense systems fired and air raid sirens blared. Hamas, whose militants surged into Israeli towns on Saturday, spraying gunfire at civilians and dragging off about 100 hostages, Monday claimed that Israeli airstrikes had killed 4 of the captives. The Israeli military said it had called up an unprecedented 300,000 reservists for its Swords of Iron campaign and was imposing a total blockade of the Gaza Strip, signs it could be planning a ground assault there to defeat Hamas. In a further sign of Israel's rapid shift onto a war footing, a cabinet member from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party said it could set up a national unity government joined by opposition leaders within hours. Israeli truck convoys were seen moving tanks to the south near the Gaza border. Dozens of Palestinians have been killed and wounded in Israeli air raids on Jabalia refugee camp in the besieged Gaza Strip, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry and the official Palestinian news agency Wafa. At least 493 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli bombardments on the blockaded enclave since Saturday, according to a ministry death toll published earlier on Monday. The Israeli air raids on Gaza came after Hamas fighters from the Strip launched a multi-front attack on Israel, killing at least 800 people and capturing dozens of others as hostages. At the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, men clambered on a flattened building to pull an infant's tiny body from the rubble, carrying it down through the crowd below amid still smoldering remains of bombed buildings. The air raid left dozens of people killed and injured, according to the territory's health ministry and Wafa. As ambulances arrived at a hospital, workers ran out to haul in stretchers bearing the wounded. Inside, a man lay next to the shrouded body of his nephew, hysterical with grief, alternately striking the floor and embracing the corpse as he screamed. Funeral processions wound down Gaza streets. In Rafah, in the south, men strode behind a body being carried on a bier, Palestinian and Hamas flags raised behind. At the cemetery, a family buried Saad Lubad, a boy killed in air raids. His body, wrapped in white, was passed down to be laid on a patterned cloth before burial. Nasser al-Bukuta said 19 members of his family, including his wife, were killed when an air raid hit their home, where they were huddling on the ground floor in Rafah. There were no fighters in his building, he said. This is a safe house with children and women, the 57-year-old Abu told the AP news agency by telephone. Another strike in the same city early Monday killed 11, including women and children. Since the Israeli raids on the Gaza Strip began on Saturday, more than 73,000 Palestinian residents living along the eastern regions near the Israeli frontier have left their homes to take shelter in United Nations Refugee Agency schools. According to Adnan Abu Hasna, a media spokesman for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East, people are arriving from all parts of the Gaza Strip as the area faces intense aerial bombardment. Residents have taken refuge in 64 schools, with more coming as they believe that they are the safest places in the Gaza Strip because they are affiliated with the United Nations, Abu Hasna said. At the schools and other UN institutions in Gaza, Abu Hasna explained Palestinians can receive healthcare, nutritional, and psychological services. Some of the elderly are medical cases that need follow-up in light of the current tension, and children need psychological and social counselors in order to overcome this difficult stage they have lived through, he said. Families in Gaza are fleeing to the UNRWA schools after an unprecedented attack by Hamas fighters caught the Israeli military establishment by surprise. Members of Hamas's armed wing flew into Israeli military sites and towns using motorized paragliders, while others broke through the Israeli fence. Rescue workers on Monday scrambled to pull out survivors and the dead from beneath the rubble 2 days after the northwestern city of Herat and its surrounding were struck by the deadliest earthquakes to rattle Afghanistan in years. The Taliban administration said at least 2,400 people were killed and many more injured in the quakes, which were among the world's deadliest this year after tremors in Turkey and Syria, in which an estimated 50,000 people were killed. Neighbors Pakistan and Iran have offered to send rescue workers and humanitarian aid, while China's Red Cross Society offered cash relief aid. A technical team from Iran has arrived in the area, Mullah Janan Saik, spokesman for the Ministry of Disaster Management, said during a press conference. Air traffic has resumed at Germany's Hamburg airport, a spokesperson told Reuters today, after a police operation in response to a threat against a plane from Tehran prompted all landings and takeoffs to be halted. A federal police spokesperson earlier said officers acting on a threat of an attack sent via email searched a plane with 198 passengers from Tehran that had landed in the northern German city. The German Air Force said on its X social media account that it escorted the plane after it entered German airspace east of Berlin due to a bomb threat. Police interviewed passengers, which is normal procedure when a threat is classified as serious, the police spokesperson told Reuters. No takeoffs or landings were possible because the airport fire brigade was involved with the search, the spokesperson added. The news came on the first day of a special meeting of the German and French governments in Hamburg, with Chancellor Olaf Scholz and President Emmanuel Macron both attending. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,214.02. The NYSE Composite is increased by 141.03 points or 0.94%. Tokyo stock close price is 30,994.67. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 80.69 points or 0.26%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,110.48. The Shanghai index is increased by 3.16 points or 0.10%. Hong Kong stock close price is 17,485.98. The Hang Seng index is increased by 272.11 points or 1.58%. Bombay stock close price is 65,995.63. The Sensex index is increased by 364.06 points or 0.55%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. New Zealand have defeated the Netherlands by 99 runs to secure a second successive ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 win at the Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium in Hyderabad, India. Michel Santner, who also made a quick-fire unbeaten 36 of 17 balls, then took 5 for 59 with his left-arm spin as the Netherlands were bowled out for 223 in 46.3 overs. New Zealand had earlier avenged their narrow defeat in the 2019 International Cricket Council World Cup final after beating England by 9 wickets in Ahmedabad, India last week. It was the Netherlands' second consecutive defeat after losing their opening game against Pakistan by 81 runs. New Zealand didn't feel the absence of captain Ken Williamson for the second game in a row as they powered to 322 for 7 on a slow, dry wicket with top-order batters Will Young, stand-in skipper Tom Latham and Rachin Ravindra all shining. Saudi Arabia formally informed FIFA of its wish to host the Men's World Cup in 2034 on Monday in a bidding contest that increasingly looks designed for the kingdom to win. The Saudi Arabian Soccer Federation said it submitted a letter of intent and signed declaration to FIFA to bid in a vote that is open only to members of the Asian and Oceania soccer governing bodies. FIFA fast-tracked starting the 2034 contest last week after its ruling body also agreed to accept only one candidate for the 2030 World Cup, now an unprecedented six-nation, three-continent co-hosting plan in Europe, Africa, and South America that removed those continents from bidding to get back-to-back tournaments. The Spain, Portugal, Morocco, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay project in 2030 will follow the inaugural 48-team 104-game tournament in 2026 in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. That allows the 2034 edition to return to Asia 12 years after Qatar hosted the 2022 World Cup. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all for today. Keep watching Millennium News Hour for latest news update. To stay updated, like our Facebook page, subscribe our YouTube channel and visit our website. Our website address is www.millenniumnews24.com. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all the latest news worldwide. Thank you.